let's get rolling. If you could just introduce yourself, give us your name, where you're from, where you're living now, or whatever, and what's the name of your book?
My name's Andy Baldwin. I write as A.W. Baldwin, and I live in Lander, Wyoming, small town at the foot of the Wind River mountain range. And my book is Wings Over Ghost Creek.
There it is.
There it is.
So let me ask you this. What went through your mind when you saw that, yes, for the second year in a row, you became a finalist?
I really thought, I didn't think lightning could strike twice in the same spot. I really did not think that I could make it to the... I was surprised when I was a semifinalist. So making it to the finalists was really a shock.
Some of this I might have asked you last year, but how did you start writing? You know, when did you start writing? What did you write?
Oh, I started a long time ago. The first thing I really finished was that I was happy with was Desert Guardian, which is the first Relic novel, and that was 2016. And I was still working full-time at that time. So it took me quite a while to finish Desert Guardian, and then I went from there. Raptor Canyon was second, Wings Over Ghost Creek is third, and I have a fourth one that should be out in October, Diamonds of Devil's Tail.
All your books are poetic in their description of what I consider one of the main characters of the series, especially this last book, which are the Canyonlands themselves. And what I wanted to do, and I hope this embarrasses you, though I don't care if it does, I'm going to read a little gem that you have in there. So this is from the most recent book, Wings Over Ghost Creek. And it's just so poetic. I just want to read it, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Turning northwest, then east again, they saw a dried-out riverbed where the muscled flow had circled a horseshoe bend until, eons ago, it met itself coming and going and abandoned the island of rock to the desert winds. From above, the land looked as furrowed as a crumpled rug and raw as sandpaper. Tall spires like pencils of rock, deep canyons, a summer sandbox, carved with the flow of a garden hose. Ribbons of living green hugged tightly against the massive Colorado River as it wound slowly through the dry mesas and sheer cliffs, erosions and uplifts on a scale of size and time too vast for human minds to grasp. I mean, I've read this 4 times just practicing reading it to you, and I get goosebumps every time. So I have to ask you, have you ever written poetry, and what would it take to get you to write poems from the Canyonlands?
No, I've never really tried poetry.
I mean, how do you get such amazing descriptions in there, and does it take you a long time to get them, or is it just something that comes naturally to you that you, because I know that you travel that area a lot. Does it come natural to you that you can just sit down and boom, first time out, you write a passage like that, or does it take a lot of work?
Yeah, it takes a bit of work. You know, it's you get the mental image in your head, and then the trick is how to describe it in ways that relate to people can relate to, and see it in their head. So, you know, generally I'll have some thought like, you know, the hose in the sandbox from the air, and Wings Over Ghost Creek is part of it is about flying in small airplanes, and from the air that's a lot of what it looks like. It's that erosion and how random it is, and yet how really beautiful it is as a landscape. And you just, I don't know, I'm answering your question, but I guess it takes some effort, but I usually start with, I have some image or some way of thinking of it, and then build on that.
And I have to say, all 3 books have that in there. And there, it kind of makes it that that is such a big character, the actual landscape. Did you plan for that, or is that something that just kind of happens and yeah, I never really thought about it? Or do you picture that the landscape as a character?
Yeah, I do see the landscape as a character. Um, it's the kind of place that really shapes the characters. To live in a place or be in a place like that for very long takes. Well, you think about the character Relic, who's essentially living out there all the time, and the adaptations that you make and the rhythms that you get into when you're out in a place like that. So I see them as fitting together, the places and the characters, and the more the characters are out there, the more it shapes them.
In fact, speaking of Relic, I have to tell you this that, I think when you enter this contest, the judges send feedback. One of the one of the most common feedbacks of the judges, and there was more than 5 or 6 of this comment, something to the effect of, "Yay, more Relic." I mean, people love this character, and we all have a picture in our head of what he looks like. Do you ever consider that? I know in your book, Relic, like the landscape, seems to pop in, and he's there, and then he disappears for a while, he comes back. Is there ever more Relic coming? I mean, have you ever thought, I'm going to make him a lot more like the main character, that a lot of this action is happening directly to him? Because he's usually the guy around the outside, but he's jumping in and directing people to change, and he jumps out. And is there ever going to be like, yeah, this one's Relic's the big star?
I don't know. I like him as a guy who helps the protagonist see the world differently,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they begin, when the story begins.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't thought of that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't want to change your mind or anything. Well, I'll tell you what, in this book, Owen is a great character, but I don't think he would have made it without Relic. And now I think I see what you're saying, is that he is this person who lets you know there's maybe some things you need to look at differently. Does that come from anything from your life? Did you have a mentor like that ever, or a chance encounter?
Oh no, I wouldn't say one person. I think probably all of us have somebody at different times, different people who say something to you, and it turns the light bulb on, or it makes a difference to you. And so he's just kind of that guy who just tweaks that perspective a little bit.
Probably one of the best closing paragraphs I've ever read in a book is at the end of Wings Over Ghost Creek, when Relic hears the voices of his ancestors and sees images of them. How did that come to you? Or did Relic, the character, kind of reach out to you as characters do when you're writing and say, hey, I need to say this?
I guess a little of both. Relic is an interesting mix. We know that he has one grandfather who's Hopi and one grandfather who's Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the rest of him is, but he's obviously got this deep connection to Canyonlands, to the ruins that are there. All of this territory was Pueblo territory, and I mean that's why the ruins are there. The artifact itself, I just thought that was the right way to wind that up, because this particular artifact, these figurines have their own sort of arc in the story, where they start off in the shelf, locked in a museum somewhere, and then they go through possession by a number of different characters. They finally end up with Relic, and Relic says, "These need to go home." And home is back to the people who made them.
Right.
And of course, he's got the Hopi connection, so he's going to take them home.
What's next? What's the next book?
Diamonds of Devil's Tail will be out in October. So that's the next one.
And then, of course, my suggestion is your Poems from the Canyonlands. That will be after that one, right?
Yeah, my suggestion was that you do a sitting for the role of Relic, because I like the goatee you've got going there.
Yeah.
Needs to be a little stringier.
I can grow it out. I can grow it out.
It's perfect.
Well, I think I've told you before, I have an acting background, so I'll certainly do it. But I do think that Relic is in way better shape than I am.
Yeah, he's pretty tough, tougher than me too.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. All right, well, Andrew, thank you so much for your time. It's great to see you again, and I wish you all the luck coming up here.
Well, thanks for all the kind comments about wings. That's very nice of you.
It's brilliant.
Appreciate you and everybody in the Cussler family for, sponsoring this thing and what it means for, I can't say young authors, but I'll say new authors.
There you go.
Certainly, it means an awful lot to have somebody else, give you a little bit of support and say, as you said to me last year, and the other contestants, if you made it this far, it means your writing doesn't suck.
Did I really say that?
You said that, and it was perfect. And that's why I remember it.